and that's the right time to show you fill layers. They are very similar to our adjustment layers about which we were talking before. However, there was a reason why I kept this to show you right now and not earlier with them, because the thing is a bit more complicated, even though fill layers are much more basic than adjustment layers. You have to remember this because the base of the fill layer is just a color. So we're going to fill the layer with some color and that's it, or for example some pattern. And also we're going to work non-destructively, the same as with adjustment layers. We're just creating a new layer above and we fill this with some color. And that's it, that's all you need to know right now, but soon you're going to know why I kept this till now and why it was really pointless to show you this before, of course. So I'm just going to hit this small icon, and on the top over here you can find our fill layers. We have solid color, gradient, and pattern. And I'm going to start with the most basic one, which is of course solid color. It's not the perfect example because our solid color was gray, so I'm just going to change the color. And of course you have endless opportunities to manipulate with the color with your color picker. So you can choose any color you really want over here. You can switch between them. For now I'm going to choose warm color, which I believe going to be really suitable for this image. And I'm not going to do anything more than just hit OK. Similar as with adjustment layers, we can manipulate with opacity, etc. However, the reason why I really wanted to show you this right now, because even though we changed the opacity, as you can see, as we were saying about photo filter, and that is actually mist, where photo filter is actually more similar to the glass, which I said as well. But color fill layer is actually actual mist, and you can see it's really difficult to get through this to our image. When we keep this at 100, it's absolutely not visible. When you take this down, it is visible, but it doesn't look so well at all. And here's the point when we work with blending modes. So when you work with the fill layers, blending modes are extremely helpful. We can keep this as a normal and that won't look really great. However, when you switch between different blending modes, it's going to give you really amazing results. And these ones are very similar to photo filters. So you can actually use an actual colors, not using photo filter. And I believe this method could be much more helpful because of course, we can go through these dark and blending modes by brightening, which not to be working well for these bright colors. And for this one, I feel will be really great soft color overlay, multiplay, which I showed you before. And I'm going to try with color because I believe the color will be really suitable for this, but I need to set up very soft opacity. So that's how it works like. Color multiply works really great for this. So to show you the fill layers, actually you needed to know what are blending modes, which is very important. So that's the most basic fill layer, which is solid color. I'm just going to turn this off and let's go to the other fill layer, which is gradient. And as the name says, it's very similar to our gradient map. I'm going to open this and you can actually see the difference that it works totally different, even though it's gradient, but it's not the map of our image. So it's not actually filling the image with the tones as before. Before we had the gradient map, and when you were choosing gradient map, for example, you have reds for the shadows and greens for the highlights. It was filling the image like this. So the reds were existing where the darks were, and the greens where the bright areas were existing, and it was adjusting itself to the image, to the tones, to the darks, mid-tones, and highlights. Here we just have to work with actual fill layer and nothing more. So we can choose any gradient we really want. I'm going to stay with this maybe for now. And we have different styles of our gradient. We have style as a linear, radial, which looks totally different, angle, reflected, and diamond. What I have to say, except some specific effects for some graphic, mostly you're going to work with linear because it's the most universal for your image and it can give you a really nice effect for the image. Also, you can set the angle, which is going to give you a really nice effect. Let's set up something around this from one side to another. And also you can set up the scale, but usually we keep the scale at 100% for the best result. And I'm going to keep this as a 100%, so we have really optimal soft dissolve. If we're going to pull this up, the dissolve will be too strong and the effect won't be really so visible. That's all you need to know right now. Let's go into hit OK. And once again, the same as with solid color, we can change blending mode and get really this other kind of interesting colors. I'm just looking right now to feed my curiosity as it looks like, because of course I'm working quite spontaneous right now because there's nothing to be not spontaneous with fill layers, of course. And once again, I feel the multiply works really great for this image. So that's the base you need to really know about fill layers and blending modes and how does it work. So simply speaking, this fill layer is going to be blended in or blended up with our project. So these two were based on the color, but there is one more option which is called pattern. Maybe with pattern I'm going to go to different image. However, I believe really gradient would work great on this image, if I have to be honest. I'm just going to pattern, and we already have some ready patterns. I'm going to choose something specific to make you see everything very well. So we have few patterns as a presets. I choose this one because it's really nicely visible. And about the patterns, I usually use them to create some of the nice wallpapers, for example. That's really great if you want to create creative wallpapers. At first I'm going to show you this on the image. Hit OK. Let's change blending mode for multiply at first, maybe for overlay. That worked really great. And we get in this effect, and you have to say maybe it's not great from the photographic point of view, but from creative point of view it can give you really amazing results. However, I would prefer to work with the new layer. I'm going to choose this like this. Maybe at first I'm going to fill this with some color. That layer was transparent, so it filled in that place. I'm going to choose some of the soft color like this, and let's try right now to fill this with pattern. I'm going to choose the same pattern as before, or maybe different one which will be creative enough, maybe this one. So hit OK, and when we change the blending modes, as you can see, it's giving us really amazing effects for our wallpapers. So that's really great way to work with this pattern. I mostly use if I want to create some graphics, if I want to create some wallpapers. I don't really use this for photography, and you probably know why, because it's going to ruin the photography and it's not going to give you professional results. So for photography, the fill layers like solid color and gradient map is really great. Pattern, not exactly. The thing you need to know about the pattern, you are able to create your own patterns in Photoshop. How to do this? I'm going to show you by creating new layer once again. I'm going to choose this as a really small one, 10 pixels per 10 pixels. Let's hit OK and make this a bit bigger. what I'm going to do, I'm going to choose a brush of really small size with size 1. Maybe even a bit bigger. Let's set 3 pixels, and with color black, is it black? It's gray. So with color black, I'm just going to create some specific pattern. Maybe it's not really super beautiful, but it will be pattern still. So I created something like this. Let's say it's super creative and cool. So when you create some kind of pattern in Photoshop, it can be any size. Here you could even place image to create a pattern. You can absolutely fill this with anything you want. This is just an example. So I created this amazing pattern right now. So I'm going to edit, define pattern, and I'm going to save this as a new pattern. Hit OK. I'm going to go back to this wallpaper over here. I'm going to remove this pattern, and once again I'm going to have a look into my patterns. And as you can see, I already have this pattern I made over here as a choice in my patterns. You have to say it looks really amazing. Still as a normal, because it was transparent in huge way, so the fact is this fill layer is getting through our pattern, of course. So I'm going to choose this normal, and when I'm going to change blending modes into something more creative, like overlay, it's not really so visible, but when I zoom this in, it's really visible. So this pattern could be better, but with hard light works actually the same as before, but you have an idea how pattern works. Like color is again very soft, so that's how we work with the pattern. This pattern apparently was too soft, but you see a real example how does it work. Maybe I'm going to create another pattern to show you one more example. A bit bigger, a bit stronger, and a bit more visible. At first I'm going to fill this with color white, so this pattern will be a bit more complicated this time. Bigger size of the brush. I'm going to create new layer, and I'm going to create something like that. I think it's really high art, I could say. Or this one is too dark already. Okay, this is our high art. Okay, so something like that. I'm going to edit, define pattern, hit OK. I'm going to this wallpaper pattern, and I already have this pattern, and now it's not really transparent as my pattern before. So now when I manipulate with blending modes, it's going to give me a bit more complicated and creative result. So that's how you create a pattern, and also that's how you work with the fill layers.